concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
Damn it. Oh, wrong keystroke again. That one starts the music. This one mutes my... Okay. Boy. It's a good thing the stream hasn't really started. That's, that would be pretty embarrassing. This is what I need. This is what I need right here. This is what I need. Then you'd never get the wrong keystroke again, right? Because you just know what all your keystrokes do. Yeah. How's it going, everybody? It is Monday night. It is 8 p.m., at least where I am. And it's time to do some Q&A. How's it going? Build a macro pad. Yeah. No, I saw the video by the Macro King. What's his name? Who's the Macro King? Taryn Van Hemert. He is the Macro King. This guy has 2 keyboards. One just for macros. And he says the Stream Deck is the shit. Yeah. Anyway, Jacob Newsom says the Stream Deck is awesome. I'd probably just hit the wrong key anyway. Is it centered up? Am I centered up? Let's make sure I'm centered up here. Ooh, there we go. Yes. G'day, Arlo Pilly. G'day. From Australia. Daniel Wilkie. Pebcack. Seattle in the house. GCKFPV pictures me dancing hard to these jams before every stream. You know, I do usually just kind of sit here and just sort of get in the mood for gets me in the mood for the stream. It really does. But today I ran upstairs and got a drink because my drink wasn't ready. Everybody wants to know what the drink is. The drink is these days it's pretty much always Mio Squirts. This one is, I think, a black cherry. So, hey, from New York, North Carolina. What's up, you guys? We're gonna do some Q&A. FPV arborist from my favorite city to say, Albuquerque. I don't know why I like saying Albuquerque. So here he goes again, talking about Albuquerque. I think it's because in my mind I hear Albuquerque. You see, Albuquerque. But you say Albuquerque. Let's do it. Let's do the news. Where's the news? There's no news. Email news@joshuabardwell.com with news items for this segment. I'm trying to get you guys to do my work for me. I'm serious. I'm serious too. Whenever you are out there on the internet and you see something, you're like, oh, that's cool. Send it to me because I can't keep up with all the junk that's going on. Now let's see. Let's see what's going on here. What news has come in? News. Oh, here's one. Okay, I got one piece of news here. This is more of a new product, but oh, wow. Okay. Thank you very much to Patrick Campbell for submitting this. This is pretty freaking slick. This is the Cinnabird FPV frame kit 1R edition with invisible drone feature for the Insta360 1R. I have seen, it might have been this exact frame, or it might have been a similar frame that used the same idea, but the idea here is to get the entire frame into the seam line of the camera, so the entire drone is basically invisible. That is pretty slick. It's pretty slick. Zorro is in the chat. Zorro, I'm wearing your shirt today. Zorro did this design. Zorro's a hell of a designer. I was just talking to Zorro today about doing some designs for me. No pressure, Zorro. So, yeah, so this is pretty slick. Now tell me something in the chat, guys. Did I see... There's a 5-inch version of this out there, isn't there? Because this looks like a 3-inch to me, which, by the way, 3-inch... I mean, make a 5-inch. I think there is a 5-inch version of this. Maybe it's by the same company. I don't think it's by Newbie Drone. But this is pretty slick. Now, Ren from... No. You're going to see my suggested videos. You're going to find out what I've been watching. Yes, that's true. It's always dangerous to bring up YouTube on a stream, but here, talk about this Cinnabird in a second. Yes, I watched Tech Linked. Tech Linked is hilarious. And if you're into cars, Throttle House is some great YouTube content. And if you're into video games, Video Game Donkey is a master. And if you're into, I don't know what, Davey's a bassist, but I guess I'm into music. But mostly, Davey's just hilarious. Conan O'Brien. I'm not ashamed of any of this. I'm not ashamed of any of this. Yeah. Corridor Crew. This, Ren built. Now, kudos to Corridor Crew, by the way, because all he did was he just built a 360 drone mod, kind of like this. But kudos to them because they named it a God Mode camera. You know God Mode, like in a video game where you can fly around? They are the masters of SEO and titles and thumbnails. But Ren built a camera. Let's see if we can find just a screenshot of it. That basically takes the Insta360 and does the same thing as this, except his requires him to... Dang it. Come on now. Where am I going to see the actual thing? He has to take the whole thing apart. There, you can kind of see it there flying. This is more slick because it leaves the camera intact as opposed to having to take it apart. But the challenge here, and I don't know what the solution is that your seam line is right in front of the camera. I guess if you pitch forward, the seam line is tough. Anyway, quarter crew, let's see. Quarter crew, Zoro approves of quarter crew. Heck yeah. Zoro also approves of Davey. Davey has got YouTube figured out. I'll tell you what. Anyway, what else we got for news? Let's take a look. Oh, here we go. Sebastian Escobar wants us to mention the Xylo Blue Hornet on GetFPV. Alrighty, let's check this out. Now the Xylo Blue Hornet on GetFPV. Oh, yeah, this is, see, I saw this. I am terrible at this game. I saw this and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I should put that on the news. Did I make a note of it? No. Thank you. Thank you, Stan. The Xylo Blue Hornet. This is actually designed by Ryan Harrell, Quad McFly, who he does some designs for Xylo. And the purpose of this, I think, is to minimize air resistance when the quad is pitched forward, to just kind of tip everything forward and put it in a straight line. So when you look at it here, it looks like it's all cocked back. But when it's pitched forward in flight, everything is kind of flat. This is, I'm torn on this one. Because on the one hand, I don't like frames that are super fiddly with lots of screws and lots of parts. They annoy me. But on the other hand, I think this is a clever idea. I'd be really curious to see how it flies. Mike Bergman, I don't disagree, Mike. Mike says this is a hideous damn frame. I see where you're coming from by calling it hideous. This may be a place where function dominates over form. Let's just put it that way. Stan FPV is the Cinnabird vendor, says Kai Finson. That's okay. Hey, send me some of your own stuff. I don't mind. I think the challenge with frames like this is where the vertical plate meets the base plate. Like, that's an area where you can end up with everything falling apart. Can't really see how it joins together. Oh, I see. It just squeezes onto this tab. Interesting. Well, interesting. Very interesting. Now, Mike Bergman says the Yeti beat them to the punch with this idea. I saw, there used to be a frame like this a long time ago. It was in my video. Oh, man, can I find it? Yeah. Oh, I see. I remember these weird little things from long, long ago. Remember this frame? I'm like, I don't remember this frame, but I know I had a picture of it in this video from 2015. Boom, there I am. Remember this frame? What frame was this? ggracers.com. Gorilla, I think was the guy's name. He had the same idea. His idea here was that the frame would be flat while the motors were pitched forward. Look at that. Isn't that something? And you can't see this from this picture, and I don't know if we ever will, but the GoPro was actually separated from the main body. How about that? All right, Zoro says it looks like a camcorder. Yep. You know who else? He's not in here, but one of my favorite YouTubers is, in fact, Zoro. Zoro's a madman. He's a madman. Wow. What else we got? Any other news? Oh, Blake Terra submitted this. Blake Terra submitted this. Thank you, Blake, for sending this. I am not allowed to talk about this, but since you submitted it. How does a motor kill a gyro, Daniel Herwig? That's a good question. I'm not sure how that could be. This is the Immersion RC Ghost and Orca FPV Connect. Not much is known. This article says that Ghost is a 2.4 gig transmitter. Rumor has it that the module might be designed only for the FreeSky X-Lite, but we can't really believe that. Here's the FPV Connect module from Orca, and it does have the Ghost logo on it. Oh, interesting. This is going to be one of those cases where I can't make any original suggestions because I actually know some things. So I'm just going to share this article with you without any additional comment. And that's all I'm going to say. Orca Ghost. This article has some conjecture and some facts. It is a fact that there's a ghost logo. It is a fact that Immersion RC posted recently on Facebook asking what the ghost logo should be. So those are real things. Bestman08 says my stream is shit and boring. Then leave. Then go. Don't be here. Oh. Oh, should we do some Q&A? Should we do some Q&A? I haven't said anything, 507RC. All I did was I put that article up and read what the article said, and I didn't confirm or deny any of it. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. We got some news out of the way. Thank you guys who submitted news. There's one more. Let me do one more piece of news, then we'll get to the Q&A. That's why you're here. It's like, just answer my questions, Bardwell. Answer my questions. I don't care. Just answer. Just tell me what I need to know. I got one more thing for you. Mark H. Submitted this. He had a contest in Indonesia. Indonesia's FPV freestyle distancing competition. He says, I'm the organizer of a challenge that's been going on for over a month during the coronavirus pandemic. The event just concluded, and I wonder if you would give a shout out to our winners. And sure, Mark, we'll call that news. These are the 3 winners from the Indonesia social distancing competition. Mark says that he used me and Drew's grading scale for freestyle. Risk, difficulty. We got to do some more with that. That's got to become a thing. Let's check out some of the winners here. Not going to have any music. Not going to have any music, so I don't get copy struck. Ferrari. Hello. Yes, please. Whoop. Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. More cinematic stuff, kind of Johnny FPV style. Let's see here. Second place. That was third place. Here's second place. Oh. Are they all to the same music? No, this is the same video. Oh, what am I doing wrong here? Oh, here's first place. Cinematic freestyle. Yeah. Any day now. Was that a McLaren, Ciati? I swear I saw a horse. Wow, that's embarrassing. Oh, yeah, I like this. Risk high. Risk level high. Oh, this is nice. Ooh. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Here comes the drop. You can't hear the music. All right. I'm going to let you guys finish watching. That's a good one. I do see that there's been a little bit of streaming problems. I swear that was a Ferrari. Ferrari 488. It looked like a Ferrari. I thought I saw the Ferrari logo. I mean, I do know. I'm not saying that I would never confuse a McLaren for a Ferrari, especially if they were red. But I think that was a Ferrari. Anyway. Something going on with the network. Hopefully it will stop being a baby. Yeah. All right. So, let's do some Q&A. Here's what my screen looks like. I got you guys here in the chat. We've got the patrons up here in the Discord, and we got some super chats coming in. If you want to hit me up with your questions in the chat, I'll answer some of them. I do my best to pay attention to the chat. It does go by pretty quickly, though. You want to make sure I get to your question, hit the $sign, and or join my Patreon and be up here with my patrons in the Discord server. Let's do it. What's the best headset for a beginner? Asks Log Smith. I would say on a budget, Ishin EV800D or Fat Shark's. Oh, hey, what was that? What are you doing? How'd that happen? Weird. Yeah, Ishin EV800D or Fat Shark, like Scout or Recon, whichever one is the $100 one. Reckless says, JB, would you buy the Xylo Blue Hornet yourself? I'm a little bit of a traditionalist in a lot of ways. I tend not to want to be the first guy to try a new idea. So I feel like the Blue Hornet is trying to do something interesting and clever, and I like looking at it from over here. It's like, yeah. I'm not sure that I would want to own it on a day-to-day basis. I don't tend to like those vertical plate frames very much. You didn't see me using a lot of like the frick, whatever that company was. Zorro says, are we alone in the universe? As far as we know, Zorro, as far as we know, we are alone in the universe. There is no other life that we recognize that has contacted us. The big question is there life out there that we haven't found? It's kind of, the question is, does it matter? Does it matter if they're out there and we don't know them? We have no contact with them. It's sort of a, you could say yes, you could say no, it doesn't really matter. The real question is not whether we are alone in the universe, but whether we are alone in our own lives. So much loneliness in the world today. Sitting at home, watching a live stream, you know. Max Slug wants to know, what's your favorite car? I'll tell you what, Max. I don't know if I would say like, oh, it's my favorite car, okay? But I was looking at this just the other day. This was just announced on like the 20th. Where's the pictures? Where's the pictures? This is all you got? Ah, come on. This is coming in 2021. It's pretty slick. It's basically a GT350, but with the 5.0 engine and $10,000 cheaper. That's what I would say. It's pretty fascinating. GT350 is a good car. Have I picked a new frame for my ultimate build? Asks Jay Seahorn. I haven't. I'm real close. Right now I'm holding up on flight controllers for my ultimate build. I'm happy to tell you guys the JB F7 prototype, the first batch of 100 that will be specially available to testers. I think they are actually in the mail finally. There were some final details about the packaging that had to be worked out, and now they're in the mail. They'll get here just in time for winter, so that's going to be exciting. I have some glide. I want to take the guts out of something and build up a glide and fly it and crash it for a while and see if it holds up. But yeah, the Kebab's frame, the glide. Because I'm trying to build my next, the Hyperlight glide, that's what it is. I'm trying to build my next freestyle quad lighter. Like, I want to get it under 700 grams for sure, maybe down around 650. Because my freestyle builds, much like myself, have crept up in weight. And they're up around 800 grams, some of them, and just fly like crap. And so I'm going to try and build a lighter freestyle frame. So I actually have a couple of glides that I'm going to be building out. I'm not sure if it's going to be my pick, but this is finally a shout out for Kebab, right? Now, come on, you guys, there's always going to be somebody who's going to dog on Fords, but you have to admit that the GT350 is a hell of a car. No matter whether you hate Fords or not, it's a hell of a car. There's no doubt about that. Jared thinks Ford needs to go back to the older body styles. That's tough. That's tough. Here, let me put up a polarizing question. There's a polarizing question. Is that a beautiful car, or is that the ugliest thing you've ever seen? You want to go back to the old body styles? Maybe not. Maybe not this far back. Phantom FPV's in the chat. Look at all the luminaries here. Look at all the luminaries. Oh yeah. Well, Phantom says the Shelby is sick. I mean, is there a Fox body Shelby? I mean, it's a Shelby. Even though it's a Fox body, it's probably pretty badass. Phantom, you're dating yourself. Now we know how old you are. He loves Fox bodies. I don't know. I'm just old enough that every car from this era kind of looks really boxy, and I really came in the, you know what the best looking there you go. That's a car right there, baby. Oh, one of my coworkers used to have a Celica when I was younger. I used to want that car so bad. Okay, what are we talking about? This live stream has gone off the rails. Turns out that commenter was right. No, yeah, see, I wanted a Celica when I was younger, not a Supra. Go figure. Oh, man. Hello, Tim Gorn. Does the antenna on the video transmitter need to be the same as the one on your receiver? Darren D. They don't have to be identical, but you want matching polarization for sure. For sure. There you go. Curtis Vatican, 1966 Mustang Fastback 289. Let's see here. Now, the 60s, those are beautiful cars. There was just this time period. I don't know. I shouldn't dog on Fox bodies because so many people love them. There was a period where just, like, you got classic cars of the 60s, right? You're like, yes. And then sometime, like, in the mid-80s, cars just went, oh, what am I doing? Like, all the car designers drew everything with rulers. Like, no curves, straight lines only. And then they started discovering curves again, and like, oh yes. Okay. Let's get some super chats out of the way. John AZ, thank you for $10 in the super chat. No question, just thank you for the donation. Daniel Carroll, thank you for $2. When you play videos muted for music, sing for us. I don't think anybody wants that, Daniel. Daniel Hervig, thank you for $5. Ludsat1, thank you for $5. Do you have faith in flying over water? Ludsat, the thing is, man, whenever you fly over water, whenever you fly anywhere where you may not get your quad back again, you just have to go, oh, I'm just going for it, send it. You have to accept that losing the quad is a possibility, but the footage is going to be worth it. If you spend your whole time living in fear of losing the quad, you may as well just not show up. Now, if you're a 15-year-old kid who frickin' mowed lawns all summer, do kids do that anymore? I don't know. If you, like, have one quad, or God forbid, if you're a grown-ass adult, you know, working a job and you just can't buy a $300 quad at the drop of a hat, right? Then maybe flying over water isn't for you, because sometimes things go wrong and you lose it. But the key is that you got to have faith in your gear. You got to have shaken your gear down and have faith in it, and know that if you go down, it's going to be because you crashed it, maybe not because of a technical issue. The latest Rotor Riot video had some suggestions for ways to try to get your quad back after it goes in the water. Things like tying an empty water bottle to the bottom or foam. The thing is, if you're flying over salt water, once it goes in, you got a problem. Even if you get it back, it's probably wrecked because the corrosion is just going to ruin you. Edwin Flores, thank you for $2 in the super chat. Best drone that money can buy right now. I mean, there's no single answer to that, is there, Edwin? Depending on what you want out of the quad, right? I mean, if we're talking about a 5-inch freestyle quad, there's still no single answer, is there? There's a lot of ultra premium options. Like a lot of people would put the Mr. Steel Apex at the top of the list, right? A lot of people would put one of the Rotor Riot builds at the top of the list. Any of these pilot sponsored, if you're looking at racing, you've got the Lumineer Chief build from Get FPV. Any of these pilot sponsored builds, the Johnny FPV's freestyle build, pick a freestyle pilot whose style you like and then buy his sponsored build, and you're probably going to come out okay. These guys develop this stuff the hard way. Ciati says, if your rig hasn't fallen out of the sky in a while, zip tie a chunk of pool noodle and go for it. Exactly. Blue Jay wants to know about the Korea Toa motor. Do you think the 1950 kV 2207 motor could be comparable to a 1750 kV 2306 due to the higher kV? No. Maybe slightly higher kV adds more low-end resolution? No, the opposite. Higher kV removes resolution, especially at the low end. No, the throttle curve of a 2207 is going to be different than a 2306, and a 1950 kV motor is not going to feel like a 1750 no matter what size it is. No, those are not interchangeable in any way. Will conformal coating protect against salt water, asks Jack Lenoir, or Lenois, depending on where you're from. Yes, conformal coating protects somewhat against salt water. Corrosion X is another thing some people have used. Corrosion X is pretty gooey and gummy and attracts dirt. I'm not sure I recommend it. The number one thing you want to do if you do get into salt water is when you take it out of the water, rinse the quad thoroughly with fresh water. And it feels counterintuitive that you just got the quad out of the water, so now you're pouring water on it, but you want to get the salt off it. If you take it out of salt water and leave it for even a couple hours, you will immediately have corrosion all over it, and all the electronics are just ruined. You get it out of the water, rinse it in fresh water as much as you can, try and get the salt off it. Alcohol works too, but you probably don't have a thing of alcohol with you while you're out there, so Budget FPV says Peter Stripall has a video about waterproofing, and Corrosion X HD is good for salt water. The thing about Corrosion X, Corrosion X is a great product, but isn't it kind of gummy? Doesn't it kind of pick up dirt and dust? Yeah. Chocopic 360, what are the best goggles to buy in 2020? Thank you for $2, Chocopic. The best goggles to buy in 2020. I mean, price no object. The best goggles have to be DJI for digital, Fat Shark HDO2, or Orca. I don't think there's any question that those are the best goggles. They're also the most expensive, but hey, what are you going to do? Jim Tom Tickle. What an interesting name. I have a feeling I've just said some unexpectedly obscene thing without knowing it. Thank you for $5. I live near a military base. Can I fly my Mobile 6 in restricted airspace? Do airspace restrictions still apply to sub 250 gram quads? That's a good question. I think the answer to that is it depends. Like, for example, I know if you've got a Part 107, the sub 250 gram, if you're doing a 107 operation, the 250 gram restriction doesn't matter. It's all the same. I don't know the answer to that question, But I got to tell you, if I lived near a military base, I probably would hesitate to. I would want to make sure I knew the answer. That's what I'm saying. Do airspace restrictions? Does anybody in the chat know? Do airspace restrictions still apply to sub 250 gram quads? I think that they do. Like, I think that there are some things in the FAA regs that say you have to register it if it's over 250 grams. But I don't know about any situations where the FAA goes, nah, don't worry about it. 507, excuse me, guys. 507RC says sub 250 in the U.S. today only matters for registration, nothing else. All other FAA rules still apply. Yeah. A remote ID has an exemption for sub 250 as well, don't they? 507. Yeah. Weight. I think the chat is saying that weight doesn't matter. Peter Scarlett says reach out to the tower or ATC. Be careful about that, though. There have been some moves by the FAA to say, stop calling the tower. You got to go through like the Lance system to get approval. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is that if you're near a military base, there may be additional, especially if you're on the military base, okay? There may be additional restrictions that the FAA doesn't necessarily know about. So I would be real careful about that. You don't want to mess around with the military. Blizzard FPV, thanks for $2 Canadian. John Larson, thanks for $2. How about a bottom of the lake retrieval video? No, thank you. Byron Hameline, thank you for $5. I'd like to see you daily a remix frame for enough time to see how much danger your battery is in. Yeah, Byron Hameline, you're right. For the remix frame that has the battery mounted on top, I like to joke that that's why Tommy invented grip. Because this is the remix frame, in case you don't know what it looks like. The remix puts the battery up top, and it's right there in the prop line. And I think Tommy had to invent grip so his battery would stop getting, every time the battery moves, it gets chopped up by the prop. So. King of Losing, thank you for $20 Canadian. This is my first build using a CL1 kit. Been hearing these noises when doing flips. Let's take a look at this noise. Oof, that's bad. Hold on. Oh, wow. Hold on, friends. Let's let you hear this. So that noise is your gyro being very unhappy. Okay, I think we can stop now. That noise is your gyro being very unhappy. King of Losing goes on to say, I noticed a fracture on the arm, but it's still flyable. Is there anything else I can look at to try to troubleshoot? No, the fractured arm is absolutely causing that. The fractured arm is absolutely causing that. That is a crack or something in the frame causing excess vibration. Big Data Pimp says, I fly a remix all the time. No issue with the packs. I fly toilet tank too. I mean, yeah, the pack may not move. It might not move. B-Man80 says, surprised that the SkyZone 030s aren't on my list. SkyZone Sky 030s are very good goggles. On my shopping list, I try and narrow it down to just a couple in each category. So, yeah. They're very good, though. Just because it's not on my list doesn't mean it's not good. Your Majesty, thanks for $5 in the super chat. iFlight Titan DC-2 versus the Transtech Beetle. That's going to be a tough one because I haven't flown the Titan DC-2. Oh. So I have flown the Transtech Beetle, the 2.5-inch version, and it was badass. So I think I would. This is a 2-inch, not a 2.5. I think I would have to go with the Beetle. The Beetle was just amazing. It was very good. But the Beetle's 2.5 or 3-inch, and this is 2-inch. So you'd be more like to compare this to the Gep RC Rocket or something. I don't see any problems with it. It looks fine. I think they're probably just different cards, different quads. Big Data Pimp wants to know when the quad retrieval video is going to be here. Well, it's scheduled for the 9th, but based on the work I've put into it so far, I think it's not going to come out on the 9th. I know you guys really are really excited for that video. I'm also excited for it, but it's going to be a little bit of work. Still yet to do. Ambrose Ehlers wants to know what KV motor for a 7-inch frame with 6-inch props. Depends on if you're going 4S or 6S. I think for 6-inch props on 4S, around 2300 to 2100 KV is a pretty good choice. You could go higher, but if you go higher, you're going to have shorter flight times. You're going to have a more acrobatic flight style. So for 6S, you'd be down. I mean, the thing is, it's tough to find like a 1500 kV or something 6S motor. Most 6S motors are between 1600 and 1750 kV. So you're probably just going to be stuck with that and just deal with maybe a throttle curve or something. Carbon Cage FPV wants to know, what do I need to do to transfer my Betaflight 4.2 settings from one stack to an identical stack ready for quick replacement? Very simple. You just go into the CLI, you type diff all, you copy paste that text, and you paste it into the CLI on the other quad. That's all you got to do. If they're exactly the same, you can do that. Juzel wants to know, any reason you can think not to add some solder to the ends of your Immortal T antennas to stop them from fraying? I've been doing this for ages, but I've never seen anyone else doing it. Juzel, funny you mentioned that. If we go to this Instagram, I posted about that 2 weeks ago. I haven't been updating my... Look how few Instagram updates I've made in the last couple of weeks. Oops. I posted about this too. What happens to me is that they get frayed, they untwist, and it just comes apart, and it's terrible. Now, a lot of people, you can see one of them right here, a lot of people argued that I shouldn't do this because anytime you mess with the antenna, you mess with the reception. But I say, yeah, and my antenna getting all untwisted and chopped up in the props messes with the reception too. I don't have an antenna tester to know for sure, but I don't think adding a tiny bit of solder to the end is going to significantly like detune it. I don't know. I could be wrong. But you know what I do know detunes it? It getting all torn up and destroyed. And this really does a great job of stopping it from getting torn up and destroyed. So I do it. I'm doing it on all my Crossfire antennas, on all my Immortal Ts. So let's see here. What do you think of 3D printed frames? Asks Yellow K. It's very, very difficult to make a 3D printed frame that beats carbon fiber. I've said this before, and some proponents of 3D printed frames have come out and tried to argue that, oh, they've got the one. I think it's possible that there are exotic materials out there, or maybe even not so exotic anymore, that can hold up. But the problem is, a quadcopter frame needs to be lightweight, it needs to be stiff, it needs to be strong, and it needs to be durable. And 3D printing tends not to do all of those things at the same time. You can get 3D printed materials that are tough and durable, but they tend not to be lightweight or strong. The other thing is that when you have a 3D printed frame, it's usually a single piece, and I think it's debatable how maintainable it is. There definitely are some, I've seen some improvements. Like if you just go print a PLA frame, no, Not unless it's like a tiny whoop. But there are some materials out there that people have argued are good enough to make frames out of. I'm pretty skeptical, though. Shatif Conyers says, I have a modded Babyhawk Pro with Rush Mini Stack and DJI Vista. The quad was up and running for 2 minutes, then a few jitters and smoked a motor on a throttle blip. What could cause it? So if you had a few jitters, it could be that you had a gyro going out or a flight controller going out. But if you smoked a motor, it seems more likely that maybe the motor was starting to go. It could also be a bad ESC. There's really no way to know for sure. You replace the motor. If it smokes again, then you replace the ESC. And if all the motors are hot, it might be the flight controller. I wish there were a better way, but there really isn't. John Rosner says, why don't you just use a little bit of shrink tube on the end of the Immortal T antenna? Because it'll come off. It already has a little rubber cap on it. It comes off. It gets chopped up. Chris Mel FPV, thank you for $20 in the super chat. I just built the Tyro 119 from your expert tutelage. Flies fantastic. I love it. Running Betaflight 4.2 and Bubblegum Bi-Blades on 4 and 5S. Thank you for sharing your experience. Oh, thank you. I thought that was going to... I just built the Tyro 119 and now it's terrible. And can you help me fix it? No, it's just a really nice message. Thank you very much, Chris Mel FPV. Zorro's on to me. Spud Nick says, when can I stop buying FPV stuff? Never. It's because you're going to break it. You could buy a radio and goggles, maybe. But you're just going to break your quads. You're just going to keep breaking them. What about dipping the end in Plastidip? Why do you want an alternative to solder? That's the thing. Solder works really well. Yeah, but what about Plastidip? But solder works really well. Yeah, but what about heat shrink? Yeah, but solder works really well. Solder works the best. Why don't you want solder? That's the question. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, why don't you want solder? I'll tell you why. Because having the conductive end touching the carbon isn't the best. That's true. That's going to affect your range. So you solder it and then you put Plastidip on it. Maybe. Maybe. Sam Klug wants to know, what can you do in the PIDs to fix hot motors? Sam, you can lower the D-gain. That's the main thing that'll fix hot motors in the PIDs. You can also adjust the filter sliders to the left to have more filtering. But if you need more filtering than the default slider positions, then something isn't right in your quad. Naked Dave says, thoughts as to why my DJI Air unit wire started on fire. Yikes. Well, why did my DJI Air unit wire start on fire? I'll tell you what I can see from this picture. I mean, I'm no forensic analyst, but your red wire and your black wire are frayed and burned. So I'm going to guess that it was pinched somewhere and either they shorted to each other or the red wire shorted to carbon. The carbon fiber frame is conductive and grounded. So, but that's the answer. You definitely want to watch running your wires past the carbon frame, because the edges of the carbon fiber frame, if they're not rounded off, which they never are, they will cut your wire. So like right here, this probably, maybe it was. I'm trying to figure out if this was how it was when you were flying. What did it look like? If this passed past the edge of a frame, then it got pinched or frayed, and that's why it burned. Yeah, you definitely don't want your cables rubbing on the frame. Zorro wants to know, do you think they'll stop making quad parts anytime soon? due to the stupid FAA rules. Zorro, most quad parts are made in China, and the FAA rules aren't going to affect other countries. So I think that parts will continue to be manufactured. The only real question is whether they will be imported to the United States. If the FAA rules go through, I think that retailers will have a really hard time bringing in non-compliant parts unless they can find some kind of a loophole that, like, for indoor use only, which may not even fly. So I think that it seems likely that individual hobbyists will be able to purchase things from overseas, like many of us do now, and who will really be the most hurt if the FAA regulations go through as proposed will be American retailers and manufacturers. Because customers who would have bought stuff from an American store may not be able to, and they may go, all right, well, either they'll get out of the hobby or they will just buy it from overseas. But I don't think they'll stop making quad parts because there are still lots of other countries out there where it hasn't been regulated the way it has here. Or it hasn't been yet. Jay Larson wants to know, does going to lower pitch props help with hot motors? Yeah, I mean, if the motors are overheated because they're overpropped. You see this mostly on like 3-inch quads. 3-inch quads, especially like Cinewhoops, they're heavy enough. Like a 3-inch toothpick, who cares? But a 3-inch Cinewhoop is, it's on the edge of what the motors like to do. And so if you put like a 3052 prop on a Cinewhoop with a GoPro and a 1300 milliamp hour battery, those motors are going to be smoking hot. And nothing you do in the PIDs is going to affect that. It's simply too heavy and the motors are working too hard. On the other hand, if you have a quad, so in that case, going to a lower pitch prop would cool the motors down. On the other hand, if you have a quad with hot motors because you have the D gains way too high, then the props won't make much of a difference. Casey Wrightsman, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Any tips on getting a stuck prop nut off of an iFlight Bumblebee? I tried using a battery strap. Yikes. So in case you guys don't know, the battery strap trick is you take one of these like rubberized battery straps and you wrap it around the motor bell with the rubbery side in. And you use that to help you, then you kind of put the battery strap through and you cinch down on it and you use that to help you get a grip on the motor bell. Between that and using like a wrench, it must be on there good. Like, I have a feeling that by the time you get the prop nut off, you're going to wreck the shaft, wreck the threads. I mean, if the battery strap didn't get it off, I don't know what to tell you. Do you have, like, arthritis? Could you ask your strong friend to help? I don't know. That's tough. That's tough. I mean, I would think that at that point you would just like wrench it off. I mean, can I assume you're using a wrench? I don't know. Big Data Pimps. What's your opinion on the FAA Drone Symposium being $300? I got an email inviting me to this. I mean, I'm nobody special. I'm just in the FAA database, so I got the email. FAA, would you like to come to the FAA UAS Symposium? The FAA would like to have a symposium on unmanned aircraft systems. Also, all unmanned aircraft systems are illegal. This is just the biggest slap in the face. This is the biggest, like, This year's symposium is drones, here for good, except for the ones that we make illegal and it prohibit people from flying. We'll explore and highlight some of the many positive aspects of drones, such as the fact that Amazon can deliver packages with them and Google can use them for site surveying, but racing and entertainment and education, no, those don't count. Whether it's, oh, look, see, this is my joke, except it's for real. Whether it's package delivery, infrastructure inspection, search and rescue, or helping firefighters, drones provide critical societal benefits, of which recreation is not one. Recreation does not benefit society and has no place in our culture. What should we expect at this year's symposium? You can make connections with other people who would like to make money from drones while driving hobbyists out of the hobby. We would like to safely integrate UASs into national airspace by regulating them out of existence. And get more out of your drone business, unless your business is selling parts to hobbyists, in which case, F you. By the way, it costs $300 to come to this. I was so busy scoffing and sighing. I forgot that I had a straw in my cup. I blame the FAA for that broken tooth. That's going. Somebody gif that. Oh. DJ Pop says if you need to remove a stuck prop nut, you can heat the prop nut up so the nylon gets softer. That's not a bad idea, DJ Pop. Use a hot air gun or something. Don't use a lighter. Oh. I said GIF, Zorro. That is what I said. They're GIFs. I will go to my grave saying GIF. It is a GIF. We got a wrench here for gripping motors. The McMaster non-marring pliers for filters and fittings. I mean, I don't, yeah, but I mean, I guess that'll grip tighter than the battery strap. I don't know if I would spend $30 for it, but okay. I just think by the time if it's stuck on that bad, like, I don't think that could possibly be the nylon of the nylock nut, right? It's got to be like spalled on there or something, right? You know, like the metals are connected. Look. Here's the thing. Whether you say GIF or GIF, there is an authoritative source that says you're right. So there is no right or wrong way to do it. This debate has gone on. Look. It's gone on and on. Not that this is why I say it that way. But the original inventor of GIF said GIF. So I'm right. Oh no, this other guy said it was GIF. Okay, you're right too. Oh, all of you are too young to remember the pronunciation switch in the early 90s. Maybe that's why. Because I got into the internet before the early 90s, kids. Oxford Dictionary says it can be said both ways. Why are we fighting about GIF when we could be fighting about solder? Have we gotten over solder? Okay. Oh, good point, Larry. KD2RDH Larry reminds us that, is this a reverse threaded nut? Now, I mean, if you handed me a motor and I was trying to get the nut off and I couldn't get it off, I might not notice that it was reverse threaded. Rubber strap wrench. Yeah, this is basically what the battery strap is emulating. This is a strap wrench. You can use it to, I've seen them used to take oil filters off, among other things. This is basically, you can use a rubberized battery strap to emulate one of these and help get your prop nut off. Hero Psycho, thank you for $5. Hero Psycho says I have a drinking problem it's an old joke from an old movie that you kids probably don't know. A drinking problem. Like I hit my tooth on the straw. Chris K, thank you for $10 in the super chat. New to the hobby, thanks for all you do. Really helps me get up and running. I just got the Banggood 5. What stack and motors would you recommend? 4S or 6S is fine with me. Chris K, I went with 4S when I recently, not that recently anymore. When a little while ago I bought a new round of batteries, I went with 4S. The short version is that there are some performance advantages to 6S, but I feel like it's a little bit more difficult to tune, and it's a little bit more likely to blow your ESC. And so to me, 4S was the way to go. If you want the absolute max performance, 6S does have a little bit of an edge. I would recommend 4S to beginners. The batteries are a little cheaper as well. Not as much as they used to be. But either way is fine. As far as recommending gear, get ready for it. I have a website. The website is fpvknowitall.com, and it is the home of my ultimate FPV shopping list, where I have all my product recommendations. These are not the only good products in the world, but they are some good products that I know that I could settle in on and help you cut through the confusion of being overwhelmed. So there's a few on there. CMYKFPV says, my Tiny Hawk S intermittently drops altitude. Could hot motors cause this? I mean, maybe. Are your motors hot? That's the question. What I would want to know is the throttle moving and is the voltage dropping? CMYK? I would want to look in the OSD. You can put the throttle position in the OSD, and I do, just for situations like this. People are like, why do you need your throttle position in the OSD? Because if the quad suddenly loses altitude, maybe like your gimbal is messed up and the throttle went down. So I would want to have the throttle position and the battery voltage in the OSD, and at the moment that it drops, I would want to see whether like they drop down or something. Those are some things that I would want to know. Any thoughts on the HearLink HD link? Okay. Flying Dream 777. What is the HearLink HD link? Oh, Painless 360 as a first look. 2.4 gig long range. Oh my God, it's $800. Why, Mike? Why? Oh, that's pretty small. This doesn't look like an FPV system. What's the latency? It doesn't work with goggles. It only works with a screen. It's designed for Pixhawk, so it's really not designed for FPV quads. I think that at a price of $800, you should just buy DJI. This is not an FPV system. That's what I think. So I don't think it's really relevant to what I do. Maybe it's wonderful for camera drones. Yeah, it's for RG plane, not quads. KKKV wants to know, what's a good lightweight build for the DJI Air module? I have the iFlight Titan XL and it feels too heavy. You got to acknowledge that when you go with DJI, unless you leave your GoPro off, and some people are going to DJI and leaving their GoPro. I'm one of them. On a lot of my like 3 packs a day flights, I don't bother putting a GoPro on the DJI quad. Why would I risk $300 GoPro? The results of the DJI are going to be fine. If I'm trying to do like a cinematic masterpiece or a Rotoride episode, haha, which is also a cinematic masterpiece, then I'm going to use a GoPro. But anytime you go with an air unit and don't subtract weight somewhere else, you're going to add weight. But you're going to add maybe 40 grams, right? So the iFlight Titan XL, is that a heavy frame? I mean, it says XL, so iFlight Titan XL5 HD. I'm assuming you have the XL5. Oh, that's... What does this weigh? What is this? This is a ready to fly. Do you have the weight? What's the weight? The frame is 145 grams. That is kind of heavy. 145 grams is pretty heavy. So the question is, what could you go down to with like 110, 120 gram frame and help make up some of that weight? iFlight Titan. Does the Source one have an HD version? I mean, it must, right? I don't see it. Okay. I mean, like, how much does the CL1 weigh? Let's just get a idea. 140 grams. Oh, that's not that much lighter. Wow. I'm kind of surprised. I think, I mean, we could certainly go down to something like the Glide, but now this isn't an HD frame. This isn't made for the DJI air unit. But this frame gets you down in the 104 gram range, so you're saving 35 grams. But a lot of people would consider this to be not durable enough for their goals. I guess what I would wonder is, see, the thing is, a lot of people are building with 140, 145 gram frames and don't feel they're excessively heavy. So the question is, what else is getting your weight up there? If you want to go to a lighter weight frame, what's a lighter weight frame in the 120 gram range that takes the air unit? Anybody suggestions in the comments? That's the thing. The Gepar C Mark IV. All right, let's have a look at that, Archangel. Gepar C Mark IV. That's 120 grams, so that's going to save you about 25 grams. Yeah, got a lot of cutouts there. How durable is that? I mean, I guess you got to give up the weight somewhere. Is that made for the air unit? I'm not sure this one is made for the air unit. Is there an HD version that's made for the air unit? Why would you go with the air unit when you got the Vista? Asks, I didn't catch who it was. The Vista has a lot of trouble with heat buildup. The Vista gets super hot and overheats like instantly when you plug it in. Whereas the air unit takes like 5 minutes to overheat. So yeah. So I would rather have the air unit any day than the Vista, because the heat dissipation of the Vista means it just feels like you're constantly on the edge of overheating. And to be fair, I've never had a Vista damage itself, but like it's always complaining that it's overheating. Also, the air unit records audio when the Vista doesn't. Although, to be fair, the audio is kind of crappy. But Apex, I don't think the Apex is that Impulse RC? Yeah. How much does the Apex weigh? I mean, when you put all the junk on it, I don't know if it's particularly light. Where's the Apex HD? Where's the HD version of the Apex? Nope. Really? Apex. All right, is it Oh, there's the HD body. Yeah, but what does it weigh? It doesn't have a weight. What's the weight? Apex is 140. Yeah, Josh Galbraith says Apex is like 140. Yeah, I don't think of the Apex as being particularly lightweight. But the thing is, here's the thing. Here's the thing that we got to be asking ourselves, and then we're going to move on, because I think we've talked about this question long enough. If you're building a quad on a 145 gram frame and it feels heavy, why? Because clearly other people are building 140, 145 gram frames and not finding them to be excessively heavy. So either you have added a ton of weight somewhere else, or you are particularly weight sensitive and you need to move down to a frame in the like 110 gram range, which is about as somewhere between 90 and 110 grams. That's about as light as a freestyle frame is going to get. And then you're down in the race frames where you just have no room to carry other stuff. Yeah. So I think you got to ask yourself, are you adding a ton of weight? Like, what's your all-up weight? Is it 650 grams? That's fine for a freestyle quad. William Hawk says, I've got a Titan XL5 HD all up with a 4S and a Session, 656 grams. That's a great freestyle quad. The Session is helping. If you got a full GoPro, that would come in closer to 700 grams, but 700 grams is still respectable. Mine weighs 368 grams without a battery, says James. Is that heavy? 368 without a battery. Let's say we add like 180 for the battery is 548, and then a GoPro, that's you'd be at like 750, 730 with a GoPro. That's normal to heavy, I would say. I think a freestyle frame around 700 grams is pretty normal. Around 650 grams is respectable. Around 600 grams is impressive. I'm talking about with a GoPro. If you're around 600 grams with a GoPro, I'm like, oh, you worked hard to get there. Somewhere between 700 and 750 is not unusual, but getting porky. You look at some of the guys who fly the Bando Basher frames, they're in the 700, 750 gram, maybe even getting up to 800 grams range. In my opinion, by the time you're over about 750, it starts flying real bad. So, Davies Biker says he's got a Johnny V2, 700 grams all up with a 1500 milliamp hour battery and a Hero 6. Exactly. That is a light build. Very light build. Alrighty, let's move on. Good discussion. DJ, oh wait, no, we're moving on from that discussion. Right, sorry, I almost kept going. Quad Whisperer, oh well, Quad Whisperer, not Quad Whisperer, who is it? Jay Seahorn. Oh, no. Okay, I see. Different person. Okay. Rusky, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Is there a good contact for TBS? I mean, contact customer support and then see what happens. A whole lot of people are waiting for shipping from TBS. Shipping out of Hong Kong is a mess. I'm sure TBS is doing the best they can, but you need to just open a ticket on their Trouble Ticket system. He says he emailed Trappy 3 days ago. No reply yet. I mean, come on. Are you going to email Trappy about your customer? Like, I don't know. Very few owners of the company. That's what customer support is for. So I wouldn't. No, of course he didn't reply to you. But if customer service isn't answering you, that's a different thing. Daniel Carroll, thank you for $2 in the super chat. Any reason not to get a Bind and Fly Bang God from Catalyst? Okay, so when you phrase the question that way, I'm going to answer the question a certain way. But I don't want it to come... You said any reason not to get it, and I'm going to tell you the reasons not to get it. I actually like the Bang God a lot, and I think a whole lot of people I know have bought it and are happy, very happy with it, and love it, in fact. But the reason not to get it, it's heavy. especially if you build it out with an air unit and a GoPro. It's pretty heavy. And as much as they took steps to make the Bang God more livable, it's still a little more fiddly than some people. It's way more fiddly than just like a top plate, bottom plate standoffs. Okay? So yeah, you gotta want that quad. It's really good. It's really stiff and really durable, but it's a little heavy and a little fiddly to use. But you should totally support Catalyst. They're good guys over there. I see. Rusky says he didn't email Trappy directly. He just, that was the email address that was used to send the invoice. Rusky, TBS has a trouble ticket system on Freshdesk. So I would just open a ticket with them and see what's what. But a whole lot of people are waiting for their product to ship. So you're not alone. Cooperative Cowboy 25 wants to know, how do you configure a Betaflight flight controller for a plus frame? Cooperative Cowboy, the answer is either you use the Plus X mixer. Does Betaflight even have a Plus X mixer? I'm kind of dying to know. Let's look. I think they do. But let's look. So, any minute now. Any minute now. There we go. So we're going to go to the configuration tab, and here, Quad Plus. There we go. That's what you want. So that's what you're just going to change the mixer to Quad Plus, and away you go. Yeah, very simple. CMYK FPV wants to know prop and battery recommendations for a Freestyle on a Beta FPV X-Night 4-inch. That's a tough question because there aren't as many 4-inch props as there are 3-inch and 5-inch. I have no idea. There are so few 4-inch props because so few people are flying 4-inch quads. Like, whatever they ship with, that's what I would use. Like, surely Beta FPV has figured out at least one prop that flies good on this quad. Ciati is back. Ciati, what's a good 4-inch prop? Skunk9 keeps asking about the PID sliders. Skunk9, I use the PID sliders, and I'll tell you why. It is a lot easier to communicate about PIDs when you're using the sliders. So, like, I could say to you, bump your P gain up by 10%. And you'd have to go, okay, 85 plus 8 and 90 plus 9 is it, right? Or I could just say, move your master multiplier up to 1.2 and maybe bump your PD gain a little. So I think that I go out of my way to use these sliders because it's so easy to communicate about PIDs using the sliders instead of by talking about the individual numbers. If you want to learn about that, check out UAV Tech on YouTube. He has some tuning guides. He also uses the sliders. Ciati says the new GemFan 4023 props are so good. All right. GemFan 4023. Ciati, is 4-inch going to be the next big thing? The Beta FPV X-Night 4-inch? 4-inch, I've always said that 4-inch is like this really awkward spot where it's not as powerful, fast, or agile as a 5-inch, but not as small and light and nimble as a 3-inch, and it's kind of the worst of both worlds. I don't know. Tim Gorn says, what do you think about the 3-inch Acrobrat frame for Freestyle? Tim, the Acrobrat is a decent 3-inch freestyle frame, especially if you want to carry a high-def camera. I mean, that's what it was designed to do. You're never going to have a 3-inch carrying a GoPro that can handle like a 5-inch. The goal of the Acrobrat, and Tommy designed it explicitly for this, the goal of the Acrobrat was to get sort of as close as you could to the flight feel of a 5-inch in a 3-inch, so you could freestyle it. If you want sort of pure speed and agility, getting it lighter, getting it down into the range of a toothpick quad, where you're down around 100, 120 grams maybe on the 3-inch size, maybe 150 grams. When you get down into that lightweight, you get a whole lot more speed and agility, but you're not carrying it like a GoPro or a high-def cam. Although these days with the naked GoPros coming in around 20 grams, that's opening up a whole new world. I wonder if the reason that 3-inch, we sort of stopped at 3-inch and didn't go to 4-inch, is because until very recently, 3-inch was as big as you could get and still get under 250 grams. These days, we're seeing some 5-inch builds under 250 grams. I'm like, what are you even talking about? But that's a very recent development. CGKFPV says, if I have a cam C pad on my flight controller and I connect the menu wire to it, how do I access the menu? You go center throttle, yaw right, and you'll be in camera control. After you do that, center throttle, yaw right is like clicking the button on your camera joystick, and the right stick pitch and roll is like moving up and down on the joystick. Good luck remembering that tomorrow. HQ 4025 bi-blades. Ghost Branch suggests the HQ 4025 bi-blades. Those are fine props. I've never been ultra impressed with the HQ 4025s. I've used them because I'm like, I look around and I go, what 4-inch props exist? Oh, okay, these will do. Oh, Squishy7 points out, yeah, of course. How are we overlooking the Emax Avon? Emax developed a 4-inch version of their Avon prop for their Emax Hawk 4-inch, their Baby Hawk 4-inch. Yeah, you got to look at that for sure. The Emax Avon are excellent props in the micro size. I didn't like the 5-inch Avons very much. I think they were trying to do something really specific, and they were terrible all-round props. But the Avons are very good in the 2-inch, 3-inch. They're some of the best. Rusky, I realize I didn't really answer your question, Rusky. You gave me a $5 super chat, so I probably should do a little better. Mike Chin is the guy that people reach out to when they want tech support. They have a help desk, which I mentioned, and you can also post on the TBS Lounge. But as far as just emailing somebody to get an answer, I mean, I'm not guaranteeing you that Mike Chin will answer you, but he does a lot of tech support. I guess Wayne Ho is the other guy that people might talk to. Neither of these guys, I think Mike Chin might actually be like tech support. Miyagi Soho wants to know, can I use an analog goggle for a digital FPV camera? No, you cannot. Nope. Not DJI, that's for sure. Some older digital systems had HDMI outputs and you could plug it into an analog goggle, but not anymore. Bradley Fox, thank you for $2 in the super chat. Is 4S 3-inch a good entry into FPV, or just go 5-inch? I mean, if you want to fly a 3-inch, go for it, but no, just go 5-inch. If you've practiced in the simulator, you can definitely just go straight to 5-inch. If you're brand new, I would say practice in the simulator and then go to 5-inch. Because I think most people, as long as you have room to fly it, are going to enjoy a 5-inch more than they enjoy a 3-inch. not to take anything away from 3 inches, there are people whose circumstances dictate that micro quads at 3 inches are the best one for them. I think most people end up on 5 inch. DJ Pop wants to know, is there anything special I need to do with this frame? Because it's this style is called a dead cat style. We won't get into the reason why. It's called a dead cat. And no, you don't need to do anything special, because at the end of the day, the motor position is what matters. The fact that 2 of the arms are straight out and 2 of the arms are diagonally back, the motors are still in a square or a rectangle. The shape of the arm doesn't matter. It's only the position of the motor that matters. So there's nothing special you need to do when tuning this or anything like that. In fact, it even looks like it's a square. So sometimes a dead cat frame will have wider front motors than rear motors. And in that case, you might start thinking about a custom mixer, but you usually would get away with not doing it. But in this case, this looks rectangular. And as long as the motors are rectangular, there's nothing you need to do in the mixer or anything like that to compensate for it. Do dead cat frames fly any worse or better than an X frame? Asks KVKV. If the motors are rectangular, then the quad is going to fly basically the same. It's only a question of where the motors are relative to the weight distribution of the quad. So this idea that, like, there's no difference between an H frame and an X frame, by which I mean whether the arms come straight out the side or X into the center, as long as the motor position is the same relative to the center of mass, the quad's going to fly pretty much the same. Now, if you have a dead cat style quad where the front motors are wider than the rear motors, then you're going to have a difference in torque, I guess. Basically, when you input a roll movement and the motors spin up, the back and front of the quad are not going to move the same distance. And what will happen is that the quad will yaw a little bit every time you roll. Now, the PID controller can probably compensate for that, and you may never notice it. So the answer is that usually with dead cat frames, there isn't really a difference in how they fly compared to like an X frame. The real key though is the weight distribution and the motor position. If the motors are in a rectangle or a square, you don't need to do anything special. If the motors are not in a rectangle or a square, you'll start to get coupling. Usually when you roll, you'll get a little bit of yaw in addition to the roll. And you can deal with that with a custom mixer, but most of the time the PID controller overcomes it and you don't even notice. Lucas Designs wants to know, how can you fix a motor that the wire broke right at the connection to the wraps on the motor? That's a goner for most people, Lucas. You might think, well, I could just solder it back on. It's probably not going to be that simple. You might be able to solder it back on depending on how it broke, but probably it's not going to be durable. If you really wanted to repair it, you could rewind the motor. Take the wire off and rewind the motor, but most people that just buy a new motor wouldn't do that. Asu asks, what would happen if I set up 3D mode and GPS rescue at the same time? Asu, GPS rescue is not compatible with 3D mode. If you have 3D mode active, you cannot activate GPS rescue. It won't let you. They don't work together at all. Ken Ford says, I never hear any talk about center of gravity in a quad. Is it not important? Center of gravity does affect the way a quad flies. However, the mini quads and racing drones have so much power to weight that they are capable of overcoming the effect of the CG. In most cases, pilots don't spend a lot of time thinking about the CG of the quad. And part of that is because we have relatively limited ability to adjust the CG. Because the battery, like how far forward or back can you slide the battery? The quad is tiny. So you put the GoPro on, you put the battery on, they're stuck together, and like, what are you going to do? The CG is what it is. So that's why a lot of people, I mean, sometimes people will try to design a frame to have a perfect CG, and it does affect the way the quad flies, but most of the time, you're going to design a frame for durability and other characteristics. The CG is, it's kind of going to be what it is, and then the PID controller will take over from there. Let's see here. Will different CG affect the PIDs? If you have a significantly off-center CG, you may find that you need like a higher eye gain to keep the quad stable, because like especially when you chop the throttle, the quad will bobble a little more if the CG is way off. If you have a quad with very centered CG, then that thing that happens where you chop the throttle and the quad kind of goes like that will be less pronounced. But yeah, like Big Data Pimp says, good luck perfecting the CG. Because like you're going to perfect the CG and then you're going to switch to a different battery and now it's going to be different. Kevin Bryant says, you used to have a battery website where you had battery test data. Is that dead? Kevin Bryant, I hope to have more information about that soon. Well, I mean, all right, I'll tell you. I don't want to get ahead of myself because... but I have right now test results from two major vendors, two major stores sent me basically one of like all of their batteries. So I have right now test results from like 80 packs, and there were two tests. It almost was about to be released this week, but there were two tests that needed to be rerun. So that stuff, I hope to be getting more information out, and I hope to be able to, like in the past when I did battery testing, I would buy like 2 or 3 packs, I would test them, and I would make it, and like there were so many packs I wasn't able to test. So in this case, I'm approaching it differently. Number one, I'm working with an amazing guy. He was already doing some battery testing. And I said, hey, you're pretty good at this battery testing thing. How'd you like to go pro, kid? No, I'm exaggerating. But so he's been doing all the testing and has had time and inclination to keep it up in a way that I never would have time to test 80 packs. And then the other thing is that I am not going to be like I was trying to get a website together. I'm just going to put it out there in a freaking Google Docs spreadsheet so that you can get the information. And that's very close to being released. Hold on one second. This is an important person. I'm going to just chat him back real quick. Sorry, guys. I wish I could show you guys who that was. You'll find out soon. Why not a website? I'll tell you why not a website, DJ Pop. Because my problem is I have these grand ideas, and I don't have... Sometimes I have the time and skill to execute on them, but sometimes I don't, because there's only so much that one man can do. So if I say, you know what, I'm not releasing these results till I have a website, and I want the website to have a data explorer and charts and graphs, then it's going to be a year, and it'll never get released. So I'm just going to freaking... Yeah, Mike Bergman, you're important too, man. If you called me right now, I would probably let you know I was streaming. Oop. Oh no. I've bumped the monitor. It will never be the same. I'll tell you what. It has something to do with this. It has something to do with this. Do you remember this from the last live stream? It has something to do with this. I'll give you another hint. No, okay, that's enough. Anyway, so I'm not going to hold up progress until I can make a website. I'm just going to get the data out there, but we got to finish the testing. Yeah, Byron Hameline, partner with Mini Quad Test Bench. Yeah, that would be a cool idea. I would be open to something like that. Kimbo, it is a collapsed dodecahedron. Now, did you know that? Or did you remember that from yesterday's live stream? Kimbo's onto something. I'll give you another hint. Will there be a website at some point, DJ Pop? I don't know, man. Only if I feel that the website adds value. You know? Like, if I can get the results out there and, you know, help people and don't need to make a website, then that's just extra work for no benefit. Lewis, thank you for $5 in the super chat. I broke my Rotorite HD1 quad. The electronics seem fine. What's the next best durable frame with little to no prop view to put my electronics on? I mean, if you liked the... Oh, you want the HD one. Shoot. I mean, Skyliner HD, yeah, 507RC suggests the Skyliner HD. I mean, that's a great frame and durable. I don't know if it's in the same price range as the HD one, but sure. Skyliner HD, why not? Cole Wold, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Is it okay to run a different brand of motor if everything else is the same size? The motor I need is out of stock. What do I do? You can mix motors. The number one most important thing is to match the KV, and the second most important thing, in my opinion, is to match the size, and then you can work from there. Skyliner has props in view. Damn. I mean, like, you could certainly go with the iFlight. Does the iFlight DC? I believe the iFlight DC5. Yeah, the DC5 has props out of view. I don't know how durable it is, though. How durable is the DC5? I've heard people complain about the arms on the DC5. They look the same as the arms on the Sedora, and the Sedora's been okay for me. I might steer you toward the DC5 if you really want props out of view. Thank you, Omar Hassan 1 for $5 in the super chat. Bumblebolt FPV, thank you for $10 in the super chat. Just wanted to make a public announcement. If you have a resin 3D printer, I just found this stuff, Siraya Tenacious Resin. It works great. All right. I don't have a resin 3D printer. Tenacious Resin. All right. Siraya, well, for $10, I'll give a plug for Siraya Tenacious Resin on your behalf. I've always been curious about flexible resin. Resin printers are pretty cool, although they also this stuff is kind of like really bad for you. I'm not sure if I would feel comfortable like breathing it. Lumineer Dead Cat QAVR2. Do they have a Dead Cat style QAVR? Oh, so they do. Oh. Yeah, that looks pretty durable. Now that's an analog, though. That's not a DJI. Is there a DJI version of it? Xeno Air wants to know my opinion on the Express LRS open source firmware for R9 hardware. I am not up on that, my friend. I know Express LRS is an open source long range firmware. I guess they've adapted it to FreeSky R9. That sounds cool, but I don't really have an opinion on that, I'm afraid. Sam Klug, I've seen you ask your question several times. I want to acknowledge it just out of respect for your time. I don't know the answer, though. Sam is asking, do the basic and advanced license for drone flying in Canada allow you to fly in public areas, or do you need permission on top of the license? Does anybody out there in Canada know the answer to Sam's question? I do not. I'm not Canadian. I'm not up on Canadian laws, I'm afraid. Austin Connect, thank you for $5 in the super chat. What 5-inch frame stack motors, etc., do you recommend for a first-time builder with a DJI Air unit? I mean, if you're trying to build your own kit, I'm not sure what like really good kits are out there. I do have recommendations over on my website, on my DJI page. I have some recommended, like this is a QAVR bundle. Is that a build it yourself bundle? Or is it a pre-build? I think it's a pre-build. Yeah, that's a pre-build, so that's not exactly what you want. Do they have a... Well, I don't want the QAVR, though. I want the... Yeah, that's the whole quad, though. I don't know if they sell that as a kit, unfortunately. You could purchase any of the Rotor Riot kits. Oh, my God. What? Which part of this URL is broken? F you. Oh man, I hate that. DIY FPV drone kits. I mean, you certainly could look at the Rotor Riot kits. Here's the Rotor Riot HD1 DIY kit. It certainly wouldn't hurt. There's going to be a really good... Well, it's on pre-order, though, unfortunately. It's going to be a good build video. I certainly think that buying it as a kit, as opposed to buying parts individually, is more likely to get you to success. Mike Bergman, thank you for $5 in the super chat. What's the difference between the Impulse Micro Alien 4-inch and the regular Alien 4-inch? Oh, wow. Maybe they're... I don't... Okay, let's look. I don't know off the top of my head, though. Robert Rempel says that you do need permission in Canada. The Woods FPV says the basic license lets you fly most places flying is legal. Anything beyond that is up to the rules of the land you are on. Okay. Thank you guys in Canada for answering the question. The Micro Alien frame. Super cute. Siati, I think you had one of these, didn't you? There's the Micro Alien frame with 4-inch arms. And then you can get the Alien in a 4-inch. Is it the body size? That's what it's going to be. So the micro, Mike Bergman, I'm certainly not an authority, but it looks to me like the Micro Alien 4-inch is a micro size frame with 4-inch arms. Yeah, Siati is backing me up here. I had to think for 5 minutes to figure it out. He just knew. Whereas the Alien 4-inch is a regular alien body, right? But with 4-inch arms. See the difference? Oh, here they are. Here's the micro. Here's the regular. You can see the difference in the body. Ezra Huckabee says, only one of my motors is spinning with my Maytech F722 SE. Another one's coming on and off. One's twitching and the last isn't spinning at all. Ezra Huckabee, I would say go to the Motors tab in Betaflight. Make sure you've got your props off for safety. plug a battery into the quadcopter and raise the motor sliders and see if the motors begin to spin as you raise the slider. They should usually begin to spin by about 1070 to 1100 on the slider. If as you raise the slider, they then begin to spin, what it might just mean is that when you arm your quad, the idle speed is just too low and you need to raise your idle speed. If as you raise those sliders, the motors just continue to twitch and don't spin, number one, don't just keep raising the sliders because you're going to smoke one of the motors potentially. But as you raise the sliders past 1100, 1110, 1120, the motors should all be spinning. If not, then you might have a bad ESC, you might have a bad motor. It might be the flight controller is sending the wrong motor protocol, like D-Shot or whatever. But most of the time, if you have a motor that twitches and doesn't spin, usually it's a bad ESC. Jonah Chua says, what is the approximate thrust to weight that most drones have? Jonah, I would say a typical racing or freestyle drone is going to have a thrust to weight. I mean, let's just crunch some numbers here. A typical, like a mini quad motor, like a 5-inch prop, we've seen them making 1100, maybe a little more grams of thrust. Let's say 1100 grams of thrust times 4 motors is 4.4 kilograms. And then let's say the weight of the quad is, let's say generously 750 grams for like a freestyle quad. And that is going to be a 5.8 to 1. I'm surprised that's that low. That seems really low. If we have a like a racing quad down around 600 grams. No. 7 to 1. I've seen some quads that were reported to have a thrust to weight as high as maybe 11 or 12 to 1. It seems like about 5 to 7 to 1 is what the numbers work out to. Bandalorian, thank you for $5 in the super chat. What can I do if I can't tune out prop wash no matter what I do? Still bad vibrations on my Apex. Tried Flight 1 and Beta Flight. Bandalorian, the first thing to do is to build a quad correctly. So, like, if your motors are too small or your props are too aggressive, so that the motor doesn't have the torque to spin the prop, then you're not going to get rid of prop wash no matter what you do. So you're going to want to start with a low prop wash build, like a 2306 2400 kV motor with a low pitch prop, like the Ethics S3 prop or the Gemfan 51433. If you want to get rid of prop wash, start with a torquey motor and a low pitch prop. A lightweight build is going to help as well. Then, if we're talking about Beta Flight, the next thing to do is to move the filter slide, get RPM filtering working, and move the filter sliders all the way to the right. And if you are able to get the filter sliders to 2.0 in Beta Flight, that's the least amount of filtering that most people should do. There are things you can do to get less filtering, but they're significantly more risky. If you get the filters to 2.0, then most quads, as I've described, will be relatively prop wash free. So I'm curious, like, what kind of a build have you got? That's where I would start. Gregory Hurst, yeah, interesting. I never thought of high-pitch props causing prop wash. The reason high-pitch props cause prop wash is that a higher pitch prop requires more torque to accelerate and decelerate. Actually, they decelerate better. Higher pitch props decelerate faster because they have more drag, but they accelerate slower. And so let's say you take a 2205 motor and you put a 50-50 prop on it. Well, that motor just doesn't have the torque to accelerate that prop aggressively. It's going to draw a lot more current to try to accelerate the prop, and your prop wash handling is going to be terrible because as the quad is going into prop wash and the motors need to speed up and slow down, speed up and slow down, they just can't do it. So that's the place I would start, is with your build. Let's see, Bandalorian says I use S4 props, 2306 RC and power, 2280 on 5S. That's a fine setup. I mean, 2280 is a little high KV for 5S, but nothing that should cause huge problems. So then I would... What's your all-up weight is the next question, Bandalorian. What's your all-up weight? As flown. Total weight as flown. Sorry about that. Sorry about the slurping. Some people are like, all-up weight. Do you mean with or without the GoPro? All-up weight is everything as flown. Amazing Sauce wants to know, why doesn't RPM filtering on the Transtech Beetle flight controller work? Don't know. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Is the Dow Cyclone 5046 considered high pitch? I mean, cable FPV, it's all on a scale. It's not like there's one thing high and one thing low, you know? It's all on a scale. 5046 is in the middle of the road and when it comes to pitch. I wouldn't call it low pitch. I wouldn't call it excessively high either. It's middle of the road. Woots FPV, I agree. Ethics S4 are pretty light prop. You should be able to get good prop wash handling out of that prop. All up weight, 620 grams. Bandalorian, 620 is super light. Okay, there is no reason you shouldn't be able to get rid of prop wash with this build. That's super light. You have a lightweight prop. You have a fine, torquey motor. The first thing I would do is get RPM filtering working and your filter sliders all the way to the right to 2.0. And at that point, you should have, like if you're picky, you could probably bring out the prop wash or see it. So now I kind of wonder if you're being too picky, because like sometimes people, like, there's no such thing as a quadcopter that is completely immune from prop wash. I guarantee you I could get prop wash out of any quadcopter, right? Some are better than others. So I can't decide now whether your problem is that, like, you're getting really bad prop wash, or if you're just being super critical and watching your own flights and going, oh, I saw a little prop wash there. If you're being super critical and it's just like, there's a little prop wash there, stop trying to fix it with tuning and fix it with how you fly. Don't do the things that bring prop wash out. Some thoughts. Because I guarantee you a really smooth pilot could take your exact quad and fly it, and you'd be like, where's the prop wash? The tune didn't change, the pilot changed. Good question. Damon42. Do you fly at sea level or at a higher altitude? That's true that the altitude does matter. Higher altitude has thinner air. Lower altitude has heavier air, more dense air, and it does act like the PIDs are higher, basically. I'm going to assume Toady RZ that he has a soft-mounted flight controller. Gabe in the Discord says, I was listening to yesterday's live stream, and you said if you want like a Crossfire module, you might order from TBS and get your stuff faster, because TBS is going to get the stuff faster. Gabe says he's been waiting for a package for 11 weeks now from TBS, and he thinks maybe resellers would be a better bet because they can afford to pay for quicker shipping. I mean, they'll probably get priority for their orders because they're a business too. I don't know about that. I mean, I couldn't speak to the priority question, Gabe. I would think that TBS would fulfill some of their own orders and ship some to resellers. It's probably going to be a little bit everywhere. The problem with buying from a reseller is you don't know which ones are going to get their orders the fastest. So you could put an order in at this store and that store gets a shipment. Whereas you know every time a batch of product comes off the line, like the TBS store has got to be first in line to get some gear and fulfill orders, right? I mean, you would think. The flip side is that shipping is tricky, but I know many resellers who are struggling to get product. They're also, I mean, why would they pay a premium for quick shipping? That's money out of their pocket. So I wouldn't assume that a store is going to get stuff faster than you. But the truth is that there's no way to know for sure. It's all just an odds game, and you're guessing. Tiny Whoop had Crossfire Nanos in stock yesterday, says Jay Larson. Ciati says, TBS shipping is a nightmare unless you get their more expensive shipping option, which is $25. Sounds like that's probably worth doing. Ooh, Danish Stallion. Coming to the end of the stream. Got 10 minutes till the end of the stream. Then Ciati is going to start. Ciati is streaming tonight, I assume. You're here. Ciati is going to stream on his channel at 10 o'clock after I go off the air. We got a question from Danish Stallion. Freestyle. Raw video or stabilization? Hyper smooth and real steady go is just cheating. Of course, I'm not talking about cinematics, just freestyle. What are your thoughts? Danish, I agree with you. I'm not going to say it's cheating. I personally I enjoy freestyle because I like watching a pilot do something extraordinary. I don't watch freestyle because I want to get sucked into a cinematic world most of the time. So when I watch this, I hate this about Johnny FPV. One thing that he does that drives me crazy is he doesn't do freestyle anymore like he used to. I mean, he's doing his own thing, and what he does is awesome. That's not really a criticism. It's just I personally, like, I watch his cinematic videos, and I'm like, he's, we're okay. Now we're in a different city. Like, I don't just want to see him dive a canyon. I want to see him do flippy flops. So on the flip side, though, I appreciate that there are pilots who want to achieve a certain end on the screen. And whether they do that with meticulous... Ladrib has said he uses Hypersmooth on some of his videos. And he said, I don't want to have a great run get ruined because I had a prop that was slightly off balance. So I run Hypersmooth sometimes. And I know that if I hit that great line, but my prop was a little off balance, Hypersmooth is going to save it for me. I respect that. So everybody feels differently, but I'm with you. I like to see a pilot do his thing. And I feel like Hypersmooth, I have a different experience when I know the pilot's using Hypersmooth. Yeah. Like if you went to see a singer and the singer was using autotune, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't enjoy the song necessarily. But if you go see a singer and you know that they're not lip syncing or using autotune, now they're giving you a different kind of performance. One's not better or worse. Travis Simon says Nurk slows and speeds up footage to link with the music. Yeah. Yep. I've done that occasionally. Most of the time I don't care. Don't hate on T-Pain. Exactly. 5 minutes to the top of the hour. 5 minutes to the end of the stream. Aaron Ciati is going to be streaming. Ciati FPV, he'll be streaming over. What are you doing tonight, Ciati? Go ahead and start posting those links to your stream. I'm going to be getting out of here in about 5 minutes. Ciati will be starting. He's a night owl. Robbie Mitchell has taken my 3 packs a day experiment, and he's doing 3 solves a day with a Rubik's Cube. Yep. And I bet you, Robbie, that there's people out there who do 100 solves a day. And you're like, well, even just 3 a day, a little bit of progress every day makes a difference. That's the lesson of the 3 packs a day. License to Drive wants to know if I'm getting some LZR minis to test. Yep, as far as I know, there are some LZR minis in the mail to me. When is the Radio Master going to be in stock? I mean, it's in stock in some stores right now. In other stores, it's not. If you want it, you just got to put a pre-order in. These days, waiting for stuff to be in stock is not going to work for many people. Because with coronavirus and all stuff was always out of stock in this hobby, and now with coronavirus, it's really out of stock. You just got to put an order in and cross your fingers. That's what I would say. Let's see. Ciati's doing a giveaway. What are you giving away, Ciati? Come on. TJ Montoya, thank you for $10. What's your opinion on BQE frames? Let's look at some BQE frames. 3 minutes to the end of the stream. We got time for that. Bot Grinders frames of BQE. Isn't it? Oh, the Bandolero? Yeah. The BQE Bandolero, that's Jeff Orta's frame. This is a heavy damn frame. This is a heavy... How heavy is it? Let's see if we can get the weight. Come on. What's the weight? It's heavy. Like the whole thing is 6mm carbon or something. I don't know. I made that up, but they don't even tell you the weight. They're like, don't even ask. If you had to ask, you don't want to know. This is a heavy freaking frame. It's super durable, but it's super heavy. This is a basher for sure, but it's a very, very good frame. Clever frame. It's got junk in the trunk, though. I really like this 3D printed way of holding the antenna out the back. And it's really nice that it's 3D printed so the antenna isn't touching the carbon. So you don't get some of the video noise that can sometimes cause. Here's Bot Grinder's frame, the BQE Bot 5. Very simple. A little surprised that it's $80. No offense, Bot. I'm not sure that feels like an $80 frame to me. I mean, I didn't say that about Vortex's frame, so I don't know why I'm complaining. Really? Is that an $80 frame? Why is that an $80 frame? Tell me in the chat. Oh, the carbon is so good. It's the best. Okay. Fair enough. It's got the counter. It's got the washers here, like the Remix does. Looks nice. I don't know why that's an $80 frame, though. It's just like 2 plates. Come on. It's a pretty basic design. Like, make the... Yeah. It's not knocking my socks off. 55. What do you mean 55? It says $79.99 right here. How much was the freaking Bandolero? $100? Yeah. I mean, like, there's more carbon here. This is a shitload of carbon. Is this 5mm? 6mm? I'm going to run out my time complaining about frames. There you go. Anyway. Sorry, Bot Grinder. I mean, that just looks like a $50 frame to me, tops. Okay. There you go. You asked. Now you know. All right, guys. That's going to do it. It's $80, so Bot Grinder can get $30, says BH Hitting. I mean, I respect that. I don't know for a fact that... I mean, I'd be surprised if there was a $30 royalty on an $80 frame. That'd be pretty high. But sure, if you're like, that's a $50 frame and Bot Grinder gets to buy $30 worth of weed, hey, you know, respect. That's going to do it, folks. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you for coming out for the stream. Hope you enjoyed it. I will be back Sunday at 1 p.m. I got some treats for you this week on my channel. Look forward to release of a big project I've been working on. You'll find out about that in tomorrow's video. But that's going to do it for now. Go check out Ciati's live stream. He's posting the link right now in the chat. And I will see you guys next Sunday at 1 p.m. and elsewhere on the internet throughout the week. Happy flying, everybody.